Do you ever feel exhausted after climbing just a few steps? Or maybe you bend down to tie your shoes and suddenly your knees tremble and you're out of breath. If you're over 60, chances are you've felt that way before. And many people think, well, I guess that's just old age. But let me tell you the truth. It's not always age. Sometimes the real issue isn't the years behind you, it's the nutrition you put into your body every single day. Today, I want to share with you a simple, inexpensive food that has quietly been a best friend to aging muscles. That food is lentils. I remember a patient of mine, Margaret, 68 years old, living in New Jersey. She came to my clinic complaining she was constantly tired, her muscles weak, and she could barely climb the stairs without gasping for air. She sighed and said, "Doctor, I think I just have to slow down now. I guess sitting more and doing less is the only way forward." But when we looked closely, the problem wasn't her heart or lungs. It was her pantry. Margaret hardly ever ate beans or lentils. She believed they only caused bloating or indigestion. But the truth was she was lacking iron and protein, two essentials for energy and muscle strength. I asked her to try something simple. Add lentils to her meals. A warm soup with carrots, onions, a touch of ginger, cooked for just 30 minutes. 2 months later, she returned to my office with a big smile. "Doctor, I can now walk 2 city blocks without stopping to rest." Lentils are not some miracle food. They're humble little seeds, usually sold in $1 or $2 bags at any grocery store. But inside each cup of cooked lentils, you'll find 18 grams of protein, plus iron, B vitamins, and leucine, an amino acid that acts like a switch, flipping on your body's ability to build muscle. That's critical, because after 50, our bodies go through what scientists call anabolic resistance. It means your muscles don't respond to protein as effectively as they used to. You can eat the same meals you did when you were younger, but your muscles don't get the same benefit. Leucine in lentils helps wake up those muscles, making every bite of protein work harder for you. Now I want you to picture this. You could spend $3 or $4 on a protein bar marketed to seniors with 15 to 20 grams of protein. Or, for less than $1, you could enjoy a warm bowl of lentil soup, offering the same amount of protein, plus fiber, iron, vitamins, and a flavor your body actually enjoys digesting. The difference isn't the price tag. The difference is making a smarter choice. We often believe aging equals weakness, but I like to think of food as bricks. Each time you eat, you're choosing which bricks will rebuild your body's house. Pick the right ones, and that house stands tall for years. Lentils remind me of something important. Health doesn't come from expensive or glamorous things. It comes from steady, simple, consistent choices every single day. Just like a 70-year-old grandmother who can still tend her garden, climb the stairs, or play with her grandkids. Simply because she made small, wise choices over and over again. Have you ever tried lentils? Maybe you think they're boring, but give them a chance. Try them with turmeric and ginger, anti-inflammatory and delicious, or mix them into a fresh salad with greens and olive oil. Just one bowl can give your body not only protein, but the energy and strength to carry you through the day. Sometimes the biggest changes in life begin with something as small as a single lentil. People often say we don't grow old because of our age. We grow old because we stop caring for ourselves. Lentils may only be a small part of your meal, but they are also a daily reminder. You can choose strength over weakness, vitality over fatigue, and trust me, your body will thank you for it. Have you ever noticed that when you were younger, you could eat just about anything and still power through the whole day without feeling tired? But after 50, the same meal seems to leave you slower, more fatigued. Sometimes even a short walk can leave you out of breath. I want you to picture this. If your body is like a house, then your muscles are the pillars holding it up. When those pillars weaken, the house is no longer steady. And one of the simplest ways to keep those pillars strong is with a food you already know well: chicken breast. I had a patient named Robert, 72, from California. He was a former Navy man, once strong, fit, muscular. But after retiring, he stopped exercising. His eating became irregular, and slowly his muscles shrank while his belly fat grew. He sighed and said to me, "Doctor, I'm not myself anymore. My body feels weak. Even climbing a short flight of stairs, I have to stop and catch my breath. I didn't recommend expensive supplements. Instead, I told him, Robert, let's start with something simple. Add chicken breast to your meals a few times a week and pair it with some light exercise. 3 months later, he returned. I'll never forget the joy on his face when he said, Doctor, I can now walk in the park with my grandson without stopping to rest. And the most surprising part, I feel happier too. See, change doesn't always begin with something big. Sometimes it starts with a single piece of chicken breast on your plate. Chicken breast is lean, low in fat, and packed with protein. And most importantly, it's easy to digest. For people over 60, digestion isn't as efficient as it once was. Fatty red meats can feel heavy, difficult to process. But chicken breast is gentle, versatile, and your body can absorb its protein more effectively. That protein doesn't just build muscle, it also keeps your metabolism steady and helps maintain a healthy weight. At an age when many worry about cholesterol or excess fat, chicken breast offers balance, enough nutrition for your muscles without the baggage of too much fat. In fact, a study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that older adults who included high-quality lean proteins, especially from poultry, maintained more muscle mass, more strength, and had a lower risk of falls than those who ate little protein. People often ask me, Doctor, why chicken breast? Why not some fancy complicated dish? And I smile, because chicken breast reminds us that true health doesn't come from luxury. It comes from consistency with the simple things. We live in a world full of ads, protein powders, miracle shakes, expensive meal plans. But your body doesn't need all that complexity. What it needs is honest nourishment, natural and steady, day after day. Chicken breast is like life after 60, quieter, less flashy, but deeply reliable. It doesn't grab attention like a steak, but it quietly nourishes you, just like the small, ordinary habits we often overlook until we realize they're what keep us standing strong in later years. Have you ever had a simple chicken breast meal? It could be boiled chicken breast, shredded into a fresh salad, or grilled with light seasoning, served with brown rice. Nothing fancy, but every bite is like a message to your body. I choose strength over weakness. Set yourself a small goal, 2 or 3 chicken breast meals each week. Notice how your body responds. You may find yourself less tired, able to walk farther, or even sleeping more soundly at night. Sometimes your body just needs one small chance to show you it still has strength left. After 60, we're not competing with anyone anymore, but we still want something priceless. Freedom. The freedom to walk on our own. The freedom to stand up without help. The freedom to care for ourselves. And to keep that freedom, your muscles are your most loyal friend. Chicken breast, so simple, so ordinary, may just be the key that unlocks that strength again. So remember this, aging is not a sentence to weakness. It's simply a new chapter. And each time you place a piece of chicken breast on your plate, you are choosing to write that chapter with strength, energy, and freedom. Have you ever thought that staying healthy after 60 means spending big money on fancy foods? Maybe a pricey piece of salmon or a special steak everyone talks about? Let me tell you a little secret. It doesn't always take luxury to keep your body strong. Sometimes the simplest foods are the real keys to strength. And one of those quiet heroes is canned tuna. I once had a patient named Linda, 66 years old, living alone after her husband passed. She came to see me, worried, Doctor, I want to stay healthy, but I'm on a fixed pension. I can't keep buying salmon, organic beef, or those expensive protein powders they advertise everywhere. I smiled and asked, Linda, do you have any cans of tuna in your pantry? She looked surprised, then laughed. Oh yes, I always keep a few around. I buy them because they're cheap and fill me up, not because I thought they were good for me. So I explained, Linda, that little can of tuna holds over 20 grams of high-quality protein, almost all of which your body can absorb. That's like laying solid bricks to rebuild your muscles as you age. 3 months later, Linda came back with brighter eyes and a stronger step. She told me she'd started eating tuna 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes mixed into salad, sometimes on whole grain bread, sometimes made into little patties with vegetables. "I don't feel weak anymore, doctor," she said. "I can even carry my grocery bags again without having to sit down and rest." That's the power of simple choices. Why do I so often recommend canned tuna for people over 60? Because the protein in tuna is one of the most absorbable forms out there. After 50, our digestion and metabolism slow down. Eating more doesn't always mean absorbing more. What we need are protein sources our bodies can actually use, and tuna is one of the best. More than 90% of the protein in tuna is absorbed, even in older adults. On top of that, tuna is nearly fat-free, but it contains all 9 essential amino acids, the very foundation of strong muscles. That means if you want to rebuild strength without adding weight or belly fat, tuna is a perfect fit. Studies here in the U.S., including research from the University of Arkansas, have shown that older adults who included fish protein like tuna maintained more muscle, stronger grip strength, and faster walking speed than those who ate less. I often tell my patients a can of tuna isn't just food, it's a reminder that health doesn't have to be expensive. Life often tricks us into thinking we need to buy the most expensive things to stay well. But if you look closely, the essentials are sitting right there on the humble shelves of the grocery store. Canned tuna costs about $1. $1 for muscle strength, for steady steps, and for the belief that you're still in charge of your own life. It's a lesson of aging itself. True endurance doesn't come from big dramatic things. It comes from small, steady choices repeated over time. Have you ever tried turning a can of tuna into a truly nourishing meal? Picture this, a quiet afternoon, you open a can of tuna, squeeze in a bit of lemon, mix it with lettuce and fresh tomato. Suddenly you have a balanced, protein-rich meal, simple, inexpensive, and nourishing. Or in the morning, beat a couple of eggs, stir in tuna, and fry small patties. Quick, easy, and enough protein to fuel your muscles for the whole day. Worried about mercury? That's fair. Just choose light tuna instead of albacore and stick to 2 or 3 servings per week. That way you stay safe and still get the full benefits. Think about it. With one little can of tuna, you may be giving yourself the freedom for another walk in the park with your grandchild, another afternoon in the garden without constant breaks, or simply a deeper, more restful night's sleep. After 60, we don't need luxury anymore. What we really need is freedom. The freedom to stand on our own, the freedom to walk, the freedom to keep doing the small, ordinary things that make life meaningful. And sometimes a $1 can of tuna can be the bridge back to that freedom. So next time you're in the grocery store, don't overlook that humble shelf. Put a few cans of tuna in your cart, because who knows, those little cans might just buy you more strength, more confidence, and more years of living healthy, independent, and full of life. Do you ever think back to childhood when a simple bowl of beans was enough to fill your belly all afternoon? Beans were never glamorous or glamorous. No big ads, no fancy packaging. But for centuries, people all around the world have relied on beans to survive, to stay strong, to push through hard times. And today, as we move past 60, dried beans once again become one of our most faithful companions for health. I remember a patient of mine, Harold, 74 years old from Texas. He used to be a construction worker, broad shoulders, strong arms, but after turning 70, his strength began to fade. Every step felt heavy, his feet were swollen, and his muscles grew thinner. He avoided meat, worried about cholesterol, avoided milk because it upset his stomach. So I asked him during a visit, "Harold, what's left in your kitchen? Something that feels good, affordable, and familiar." He chuckled and said, "Doctor, just dried beans. I usually cook a big pot of pinto beans and eat them all week." I told him, "Then you're sitting on a treasure most people overlook." Just 4 months later, after eating beans 3 or 4 times a week and taking light walks, Harold came back stronger. His lab numbers were stable, his body felt more flexible, and he told me something I'll never forget. "Doctor, I feel like the young man I once was, carrying my grocery bag without my hands shaking." So why are dried beans so valuable, especially after 60? Each cup of cooked beans has around 15 grams of protein, plus fiber, iron, potassium, and magnesium. All the building blocks your muscles and your heart need to keep going. Beans are also one of the cheapest and most reliable sources of protein you'll ever find. Just a few cents per serving, yet the nourishment lasts. And here's something most people don't realize. Beans contain natural anti-inflammatory compounds. As we age, low-grade inflammation quietly eats away at our muscles and joints. But the polyphenols in beans help put out that fire, slowing the breakdown, preserving strength. One 5-year study published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that older adults who ate beans regularly had more muscle mass, fewer falls, and, most importantly, maintained their independence longer than those who ate fewer beans. I often tell my patients, each bean is like a tiny brick. Eat them consistently, and you're slowly rebuilding the house of your body, stronger, steadier, ready to withstand the storms of aging. In today's world, we're surrounded by promises, premium supplements, expensive diets, miracle cures. But we forget that the simplest foods are often the roots of true health. Dried beans remind me of this. Health doesn't come from a full wallet. It comes from wise choices. When you cook a pot of beans, you're not just making a meal. You're simmering resilience. You're building endurance for tomorrow's steps. You're sending your body a message. I want to live strong. I want to live fully. I want to live free. Have you tried cooking beans in a new way? Picture a chilly evening. You simmer a pot of black beans with garlic and ginger. Just one warm bowl, and you've got protein, fiber, and comfort that fills not only your stomach, but your soul. Or imagine a summer salad. Chickpeas tossed with greens, a drizzle of olive oil, sprinkled with sesame seeds. Light, fresh, and nourishing. And if you're worried about beans not being a complete protein, don't stress. Your body is smarter than you think. Eat beans for lunch, and later have some brown rice or whole grain bread. Your body combines the amino acids for you. Another gift of beans is convenience. You can cook a big batch once, divide into small containers, refrigerate or freeze. Suddenly, you've got an affordable, clean, protein-rich option waiting for you all week long. After 60, health is no longer about showing off. It's about standing up on your own, walking when you choose, cooking a simple meal for yourself. And sometimes the thing that keeps you moving forward isn't a pricey pill, but a humble bowl of beans simmering in your kitchen. Remember this, dried beans, cheap, simple, but one of the quiet treasures that keep us steady in old age. So next time you're at the store, pause at the bean aisle, pick up a baum, take it home and turn it into a meal. Because who knows, maybe that small choice is the beginning of a new health journey. Simple, steady, hopeful. I remember Eleanor, 71 years old, a retired school teacher who loved gardening. She told me, "Doctor, I'm afraid I won't have the strength to tend my flower beds anymore. Just bending down to pull weeds leaves my muscles sore all day." I didn't hand her a long prescription. I simply suggested, "Why don't you try adding a few prunes to your breakfast every morning?" At first she laughed. "Prunes? I only eat those to, well, keep things moving, not for my muscles." But she gave it a try. 6 weeks later, Eleanor returned with a new light in her eyes. "Doctor, I can spend more time in my garden again, bending down without that aching pain. I feel freer." One small prune, but it gave her back an entire garden. So why do prunes have that kind of power? First, they're rich in polyphenols, natural anti-inflammatory compounds that protect your muscles from slow, silent breakdown. Second, prunes stimulate IGF-1, a key hormone that helps repair and rebuild muscle tissue, the very tool our bodies need most after 60. Third, prunes are loaded with boron, a rare mineral that helps your body use calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D more effectively, the trio that keeps bones solid and muscles strong. In other words, prunes aren't just a snack. They're a natural tonic for both muscles and bones. I often tell my patients, we don't need miracles, we just need consistency. A single prune won't make you young again, but it can turn a tired, stiff morning into a day of flexibility, energy, and freedom. Aging is like tending a garden. If you neglect it, weeds take over and flowers fade. But with daily care, water, sunlight, attention, the garden stays alive, green, and beautiful. Your body is no different, and prunes are a small but powerful part of that daily care. Imagine this. In the morning, you pour yourself a hot cup of tea, enjoy a few prunes with some almonds. You'll feel lighter, less achy, ready to step into the day with energy. Or in the afternoon, instead of reaching for a sugary pastry, you eat a handful of prunes. They satisfy your sweet tooth, but also steady your blood sugar and nourish your muscles. Simple, affordable, and powerful if you make it a habit. After 60, the most precious thing isn't luxury, it's freedom. The freedom to walk in the park, the freedom to kneel in the garden, the freedom to play with your grandchildren without fear of pain. And sometimes that freedom begins with something as small as a few prunes in your daily meal. If today's message resonated with you, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel because I'll be sharing more practical tips, simple foods, and daily habits that can transform the way you walk, the way you live, and the way you enjoy these years. Let's grow older together, but grow older with strength, resilience, and above all, with freedom.